So today we will be learning about multiplication and division of fractions. So we've already learned how we can add and subtract fraction, and we also know that multiplication is repeated addition and division is repeated subtraction. But addition and subtraction of fractions is a little different from multiplication and division. Let's see how we can multiply and divide fractions then. So if I have two fractions and I have to multiply them, let's say the fractions are 2 2 upon 3 and 3 upon 4, and I have to multiply these. So how will I multiply them? So what I have to look at is diagonally. So let's take the fractions again. Now I have to look diagonally. Now I have to check whether the numerator of the first fraction and the denominator of the second fraction have any common factor. So in this case, they are 2 and 4. So these have a common factor, that is 2, which is also the highest common factor which you have to look for. So that is 2. So now I'll multiply both of these by 2. So 2 ones are 2 and 2 twos are 4. So I've cancelled them and I've put some other numbers. So basically what I'm doing here is I'm simplifying the fractions. So now I've simplified the numerator of the first fraction and the denominator of the second fraction. Now I'll have to look at the denominator of the first and the numerator of the second fraction, that is 3 and 3. So here 3 and 3 have, obviously the highest common factor will be 3. So 3 ones are 3 and 3 ones are 3 for both. So basically I've simplified the numerator and the denominator of each of the fractions, but still I don't have the same fractions. That is because basically what I've done is that I've simplified, I've divided the numerator and the denominator in such a way that now I will just have to multiply it. Like I've multiplied 1 by 1 now. So now what remains is basically 1 upon 1 into 1 upon 2. So now the remainder of the sum I have left, I'll simply multiply the numerator and the denominator. Like now 1 into 1 is 1, and in the denominator 1 into 2 is 2. So now I've got the answer as 1 upon 2. So let's see another problem on multiplication of fractions. Let's say I have 5 upon 6 into 7 upon 9 probably. So now here what I'll notice is that there is no common factor. 5, the numerator of the first fraction, and 9, the denominator of the second fraction, have nothing in common. In fact, even 6 and 7 don't have anything in common. So what I'll do is I will simply multiply now. I'll simply multiply 5 by 7, that is 35, and in the denominator 6 into 9, that is 54. So this is the answer, and I multiplied the fractions. Now let's see how we can divide fractions. Now even over here what you have to do is something similar. It's just one extra step that you have to include. So first we need to understand the concept of reciprocal of a fraction. Let me write that down. Okay, so what is a reciprocal of fraction? So basically what I'm doing over here is that I have a fraction, let's say 3 upon 5, and what I basically have to do is just switch the digits. Just switch the numerator and the denominator. I'll get 5 upon 3 in this case. So basically what I'm doing is I'm dividing it by 1, which we'll learn now, of course. We are dividing the fraction by 1. So let's see how the reciprocal concept can be used while dividing fractions. So basically, if I have 2 upon 4 divided by 3 upon 2, I have this sum. Let's see what I can do with this. So what we have to do over here is basically we have to reciprocate the second one, the second fraction. We have to reciprocate this fraction, means we have to take the reciprocal of it. So 2 upon 4 and the reciprocal is 2 upon 3 of this fraction, and now I'll no longer divide it. Instead I'll multiply it. I'll multiply the fractions. So now we learned how we can multiply fractions. So 2 and 4, 2 and 3. 2 and 3 have nothing in common, but 2 and 4 over here have. So 2 ones are 2 and 2 twos are 4. So now I have 2 upon 2 into 1 upon 3. So now after I have this, I can simply cancel out this 2's, because 2 upon 2 is 1 upon 1. So now I have 1 upon 3. And now let's see what happens when we divide a fraction by 1. When we divide it by 1, what simply happens is, when I have 1 upon probably, let's take 3 upon 4. So when I have this, basically what I can do is I'll simply this is 1 divided by 3 upon 4, which is also 1 multiplied by 4 upon 3. So now when we multiply something by 1, it's the it's the real number itself. So this is 4 upon 3 in this case. This is a fraction. So 4 upon 3, what you observe is the reciprocal of this. It's the reciprocal of this. So basically when you divide a fraction by 1, you get the reciprocal. To sum up, you can multiply and divide fractions like integers. While multiplying, you need to look for the highest common factor or greatest common divisor. In fractions, this is when you multiply, and when you have to divide, you just take the reciprocal of the second fraction and then multiply it. So we can also do this for 3 fractions, 2 or more fractions to be precise. So when I have 3 fractions, basically when I'm multiplying, let's say the first fraction was x, the second fraction was y, and the third fraction was z. So when I have this, basically I'll first multiply. We've learned how we can multiply 2 fractions. So we'll do x into y first, and then once I have x into y, I'll multiply the whole by z, which will give me the answer. This will give me the answer. So this is it for today.